In today's episode, we're going to be talking about repair and renovations. Okay, I'm back today again with Blair Neihouser.
What's up, TJ?
Back again, man. I've had you on quite a few.
I know. You look good today. It's almost like you had
Thanks.
hair and makeup done. They made sure the hat was straight.
Not today. I had to make sure the hat was straight in the camera, but no hair and makeup today. So,
You look good, though.
hey,
dude.
thanks, man. So, in today's topic, obviously, we're going to be talking about repair and renovation. So, a lot of people know FBI for brand new pole barns,
Yeah.
brand new buildings.
Our new builds, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yep.
So, what's the deal behind repair and renovation? Do we do that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right. I mean, we even get it from customers as we go out and meet them. Like, there's kind of sometimes this baseline assumption that we're only out there to talk about a new build. And for a lot of our customers, that's obviously the thing we're there to talk about, right? Is because they're thinking about a new project and they thought of us, which is awesome. But we have this other side of our business that is holistically built around repairing and renovating existing structures, right? And being in business for as long as we have, right, since 1958, 60 some years, you start to get a lot of structures out there over that course of time. And so that side of our business really started from those early years buildings, starting to then show some age. People needed things done to them. We're the ones who built it. So, kind of by assumption, they started to call us for those. So I don't know how long we've been doing it, but it's been a long time, longer than I've been around for sure. It's been a long time that we've been working on existing structures. And like I said, though, a lot of that started with working on our own as issues would come up, things would get broken, doors get run into, storm damage might happen, whatever. But then also as the buildings would age and there might have been some warranty things or whatever, like that's where that side of our business grew out of, was servicing our customers in the existing buildings they had as they would start to age.
So you mentioned we work on our buildings. Do we work on other buildings that need repair? Morton, Cleary, any of those?
Great question.
Yeah.
Great question, right? Because like think about the auto industry, right? What sort of truck do you got?
Ford.
Me too.
Yes, Ford.
Yeah. You can do all the acronyms, but it's still a good truck.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, but normally you'd probably think, hey, especially like if you have, something a little bit more complex going on, you probably think of going to the dealership, right? Or
Correct.
a Ford dealership to work on
To
it
work
because
on a
they know
Ford.
Ford trucks, whatever.
Right.
And so there's a lot of that similar type assumption in the post frame industry, right? Hey, I have a X, Y, or Z building. I should probably call that guy. But this industry is also so has so many guys that aren't necessarily affiliated with the brand that there's a lot of times that customers don't know where to turn. Right? They don't have a peak sign that shows the brand, especially if they bought the property and it's not one they put up. They don't always know who to call. And so they're trying to find connections through their network or people they know, carpenters or whatever. Anyways, the long and short of it, well, that was the long. The short of it is we absolutely work on every building out there.
Every building.
Especially in the post-frame space, right? Whether it's a Cleary, a Morton, a Wick, a Lester, a Blunier, a whatever. Now, with that, you've got there's nuances and differences in materials. So you
Right.
got to think through that, right? But what's interesting is not everybody in our industry has an intentional approach to repair and renovation. Some may have it just to service warranty things, or they may even subcontract that through their material providers, right? The steel provider may be the one that actually goes out and helps a customer do work on their existing building if something happens to the steel. But we take that on by having, specific crews for that. We actually have specific sales representatives for that when there's an issue on an existing structure, no matter if it's ours or somebody else's, that's who goes out and talks to the customer about whatever needs to be done.
Okay.
So, yeah, we don't discriminate. We don't, say, no to this, yes to that. And it even has gone outside of post frame.
That was going to be my next question. How about like steel frame? Do we work on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that hasn't always been the case, but as we've developed maybe more robust systems in handling varieties of materials, because especially in the steel world, steel building world, that steel is different. How you fasten it to the framing and the roof framing, that's different. You got to use a different fastener. The steel is normally a different rib profile, a different configuration. And so as we've developed more robust processes and systems for that, and then competency to be able to do it, you say yes to one because it was a past customer and they had this building, and so yeah, we'll figure it out, and then you learn and grow with some expertise through that. So yeah, we've done steel buildings where we've re-roofed them, put new gutters on them, re-sided them, fixed openings, because there's also some wood framing in those as well. With some of the walk door openings, overhead door openings at times, some of the porch framing, some miscellaneous stuff. But anyways, so steel buildings are a thing. Houses. We aren't going to likely come replace your shingles, but like a lot of people these days are looking at steel roofs for their house.
Yep.
Right. So we do that. We've done a number of those. And it just depends on what a customer's purpose is and why they're wanting to do that, right? Are their shingles almost done in life? And so are they looking at replacing it with a new set of shingles or steel? Or are they just looking for a new look and a different set of maintenance? And just a steel roof on a house sheds water differently, sheds snow differently, right? It just allows things to move off of it easier than shingles do. Anyways, so we've done that. Let me see if there's, while we're on the topic of just other stuff, like old barns, right? So many people have, 100-year-old, corn crib, or just an old barn that, their great grandpa put up, or, has been on the property forever, whatever the case may be. We've restored some of those, right? Done and shored up some structural stuff. Mm-hmm. A lot of times that deals with putting a new roof on them, because that's normally a problem that starts showing its age on a 100-year-old building. Right. The roof starts to go, and then the integrity of the structure can really start to go. So a lot of times it's dealing with a roof.
How about I know in our area anyways, you see those Quonset huts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was just about to go there, so you read my mind. So Quonsets being those dome buildings,
you're right.
I mean, they can have some different trapezoidal shapes, but predominantly they're kind of the half circle or whatever. So yeah, we've done those, and that's an interesting point too, is because it's not just any steel that goes on that, has right? It's got to go the curve, and a lot of the ones you may see, they'll two-piece it, right, so that it's a shorter length that steel has to actually curve. Because we've worked with our steel supplier, and we've looked at specific rib profiles and heights and configurations to have the best radius. Yeah, it's oddly enough called a walk-down radius. As to what types of steel are good for a certain arc, to where it won't crinkle or have some imperfection, right, as it's making that curve. So yeah, we've done that where we redo the outside, put new doors on it, maybe redo the ends, give it a brand new life. And there's a lot of those out there.
There is a lot. Driving around, you'll see those, and it's like, man, how do you get the steel on top of those?
There's a way to do it, right? There's some calculations, and figuring out that exact radius, right? You either got to use an app for it, or we got some great engineers that you give them a few measurements, they can kind of calculate, and they'll figure it out and get it close for us. But yeah, so there's nuances to that. But that kind of brings up a good point. Is it takes some competency, right? Right. When you want to work on structures that not everybody works on, right? You got to have skilled people going out there and looking at what can be done with it. You got to have skilled people looking at the materials going to be used and how do we set the plan up, right? Right. Then you got to have skilled people that actually go out and do the work, because it's actually more risk than even potentially a new structure. There's probably some debate on that, but the concept there is you're in some way, shape, or form dismantling something that is not dismantled right now. It's fully whole in some fashion, and so you got to take it apart to some degree to do something to it, right? Fix a header, replace some steel, fully re-roof the building, right? And there's a lot of structural integrity in the roof, in the roof steel specifically. And so doing that well to not compromise the structure, that doesn't just happen, right? It takes thoughtfulness, and it takes experience, and it takes intentionality and planning. So back to the topic we were on of the different types of structures. So we've gotten into a lot of things that has grown from servicing our customers on our buildings to the general post-frame industry, no matter the brand or no matter who did it, or who built the original, to various types of buildings. We've even, I'll stop after this. This is a random offshoot, but we've even had customers call us where this is kind of this weird gray line between a brand new structure and repairing something that's already standing. We've even gotten into scenarios where someone has gotten a material package from Menards or their local lumberyard or whatever. The contractor they had lined up to come provide the labor and equipment to build it isn't calling them back. For whatever reason, they're MIA, and they got this material sitting there that's existing, right? And they don't know what to do with it. And so we've had some of those scenarios where we've come in behind someone who's essentially defaulted on the work for a customer and helped them out. Obviously, there's a cost for that, right? I don't mean help them out and like, hey, we'll just put it up for you, right?
We'll just do it,
right? There's dollars that are associated with that.
Yeah.
But anyways, so there's a variety of things that people may not think about when we talk about repair and renovation. To us, that's like, how do we help customers with anything that's already there in some capacity? I don't know if that makes sense.
No, yeah, it does. One other thing you were hitting on, like the engineering and the structure of these older buildings. So say you have an old pole barn and somebody wants to get bigger equipment inside this pole barn. Can we actually lift that pole barn?
Yeah, I see where you're going.
Yeah,
right? I mean, QLYFT being as big a deal as it is in our new buildings, right?
Right.
Does that have a...
Can we use that for repair and renovation, basically?
So it absolutely has an application in an existing building scenario. So we've done a number of them. And there's a lot of, on the surface, it may say, awesome, right? Bring those frames in there, jack it up, put some steel in, fill in the columns, and off you go. Yeah, there's a little bit more to it.
I was going to say, it sounds like it'd be easy, but it's really not that easy.
Yeah. And so it's worked great in some scenarios, right? And you start thinking about the setup of that existing building. Does someone already have investment in a concrete floor? Do they already have investment in electrical wiring? Do they already have investment in, racking or just things inside that building that it's going to be pretty costly for them to take? Because think about what the alternative is, right? The alternative to lifting an existing building is you take everything out, you demo it, and you have all the costs of getting rid of that building. Likely going to maybe reuse the concrete, but depending on the new setup, you might have to take that out. You're going to have new electrical, a new overhead door. You likely would if we QLYFT an existing building as well. But all of this stuff, in addition to the demo and let alone the transplanting of all the contents that are inside, right? You got to find storage for it. They're either sitting outside or you got to rent a space somewhere for a little bit of an extended period. You likely have to re-go through permitting on a brand new structure. So that's the alternative, right? Is you get rid of it and you do something brand new that more fits your needs. Or you look at QLYFTing and seeing if, hey, can I just take this lid and move it up? And there's a couple different ways we do that. Sometimes we disconnect, if you think about the roof and the connection to the walls, sometimes we'll disconnect at the top of the wall where the wall meets the roof and just jack the roof up and then infill 2, 3, 4, 5 feet of new build in that upper part. Let's say the building was 12 feet tall and we want to go up to 16, right? So in that scenario, you could lift the roof up, put 4 feet of wall and integrate it with the existing wall. We've also done it where we've cut things off at the bottom. Right? And you lift the whole thing, the roof and the walls, and you jack that whole thing up, and then you infill the bottom. And there's a lot of different reasons why you may do one or the other. We can maybe get into that in a different deep dive, but there's just a lot of things to consider. So let's dive into one that may just showcase some of the different nuances. If you cut the building off at the bottom, where the columns are at a roughly ground level, and you cut all that off, and you lift it, all your walk door openings, your window openings, all of those just went up. By 2, 3, 4 feet, or whatever, right? And so now what you had as a window, around head height is now 3 or 4 feet higher potentially, right? And so that's a small, that's one variable of when you think about what's right for this structure and how to maybe tackle that. And there's a lot more to think through, from an engineering standpoint to other features on the building. And then what's cost effective,
right?
And all of that comes down to the size of the building, the current setup, how many feet do you want to raise? And so while that conversation is awesome to walk through, it's got a lot of parts to it. But the simple answer is absolutely QLYFT has a place in existing buildings. Right? So it starts with what's the alternatives? Brand new, demo it down, or do I look at lifting it, and then in lifting it, what's the setup, and how do we accomplish it, and how do we do it, and what's that dollar amount going to be, and what is all that? How does all that play into the final go forward for a customer?
Okay.
To get them the use they want.
Right.
So,
and some of those older buildings could be sentimental to people. Where maybe tearing it down, it maybe saves them more money. But I've seen some customers, this building is very sentimental. It's been in the family for a long, long time, but we need to raise it. We need to repair it. So they move forward with that.
Yeah.
So,
no, I mean, to that very point, we had a great past customer that I forget the year, but it had been a while where we built his original building, and it had a lean-to off of it. And so it had a little bit of a unique setup, but he didn't want to take it down. And when you think about what else could have happened, or what the other options were, it felt pretty limited for him. And this appeared to be the best option. And to your point, he loved that building.
Yeah.
Right. And it was so awesome to see after we built it. I think he even made a homemade sign or
I know who you're
whatever
talking about.
on the end of the building that it was almost like we gave it new life.
Yes.
It kind of had that feeling, and so that was awesome for him. We were thankful to be a part of that, and thankful of how it ended up for him. But that speaks to your sentimental value of there's multiple reasons why you may want to save something that's already standing.
Right.
And where QLYFT could come in and make it more useful, but accomplish some other goals for you. So that's absolutely the case.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see some of the stuff that we've repaired, throughout the years. Even
those before and afters can be really crazy.
Yeah, man.
Right? It can start in just this building needs some help. It's tired. It's been through a lot.
Yes.
And then to see it come out the other side. I mean, we were just looking at one project the other day this building, depending on who you were, you might have said, might need to go.
Yeah.
And to see it transform and how many things we did to the structure and a new skin on it. We added a lean-to and some porch stuff. And to see it afterwards, I'm like, that's an amazing
wild.
building.
Yeah.
Right? It's going to be so useful for someone for now a long time.
Yeah.
And so those are really neat transformations.
They are, yeah. And just, again, the different things that we work on. I know I saw one, and I can't ever get it right on what it is, but it's one of those decagon barns, maybe.
Oh, yeah. So we were multi-sided.
Yeah.
It was either 8 or 10.
10. I'm not sure. I'll have to,
octagon or decagon, whatever it was. That was really cool.
Yeah, that one was neat. And we did a reskin on that, and that was really something to see.
Yeah, that's a unique structure too.
Very unique.
Right?
It was
a lot of angles, edges, and flashings. They got to be right. Anyways,
and it was like a corn crib in the middle of it. So it's just amazing the stuff that we work on and we repair. So
yeah, it's been a neat journey, and we intend to continue it.
Awesome. All right, Blair. Well, that was a good dive into the repair. Yeah, I
enjoyed that conversation.
That was good. Again, a lot of the people don't know that we do this stuff. Yeah. So the more information we give, the better.
Yeah, hopefully we can bring awareness and then also some education on what's possible.
Right.
So hopefully we provided that.
That's all the time we got today. Appreciate you stopping by.
Always a pleasure, TJ.
Absolutely, man. We'll see you in the next episode.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.